In today's video, we're going to be talking about rear tail lights for a Porsche Cayenne and what options you have when you back into something and break one or both of them. Today's video is sponsored by Mrs. DIYDan. If it wasn't for her, this video wouldn't exist. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for the missus. Thankfully, there are options if you don't want to spend a half of your salary on an OEM replacement. I bought these taillights on Amazon for a very reasonable price, and I was very impressed with their quality considering what I paid for them. I like the fact that they are LED, which means no more bulb replacements, and I also like the fact that these taillights are modeled after the newer 957 series taillights, which give the car a nice updated look. You can also order these lights in a smoked lens version if you prefer that look. Installing these taillights took me less than a half hour and was very easy to do. The installation process was completely plug and play. Simply remove the old ones and plug in the new ones. Let me show you. Here are the tools I used to swap out my taillight. I used a 5mm Allen to remove the bolts holding the taillight in. I used this mini pick and hook set to remove the black caps that cover the 5mm bolts on the taillight. I then used painter's tape and a tool set designed to remove interior trim pieces to remove the taillight assembly. I used the painter's tape to protect the paint as I wedged the auto trim tool in between the body and taillight. Okay, the first thing we gotta do is remove these caps right here. I'm just gonna use a little pry tool. After I removed the caps, I used a 5mm Allen to remove the two bolts holding in the taillight. I don't think these bolts have ever been touched since the car was new, because they were very difficult to remove at first. In cases like this, I'm very careful not to break them. Once I crack the bolts loose, I then lubricate them with PB Blaster, and slowly work the bolt out by tightening and loosening in a back and forth motion in order to work the lubricant into the threads. Let me show you. Success! Now on to the hard part. Holy cow, I'm not gonna lie, this next step was the most difficult part of the whole process. Even though I've removed the two bolts that fasten this taillight to the body of the car, there is still a ball and socket fitting holding the taillight in place as pictured here. This is where the painter's tape and trim removal tools come in handy, because you will have to put the trim tool between the taillight and body of the car in order to pry it out. The painter's tape and the use of a plastic tool will help prevent any damage to the paint. After a few choice words and some patience, it finally came out. Wow, that was a process getting that thing out of there, so the last thing to do is to remove this wiring harness. Now I'm ready to install the new taillight, but before I do, I'm going to add a small amount of grease on that ball and socket joint to help it slide into place. Also add a little grease over here. Just plug in the wiring harness, snap it into place. There we go. On the first try, I couldn't get the ball and socket joint to snap into place. What I ended up doing to fix that was to remove the light again, and then I adjusted the ball joint on the back until it stuck out further like this. Round 2. Did you hear that pop? That was the ball joint on the back of the light going into its plastic socket on the body of the car. Nice. It's all downhill from here. All that's left to do is reinstall the 5mm bolts and cover caps and then repeat the steps for the other side. Here's what the new taillights look like on the car. What do you think? It's hard to believe that Blackie is now 15 years old, but these new lights really help shed some years off the car, making it appear newer than it actually is. So far I've been really happy with the taillights and love how they look on the car. So if you're in the same boat as me and want a quality replacement, definitely check these out. As always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments section down below, and I'll do my best to answer them. And don't forget to hit that like button if you want to see more Cayenne related content. So long.